Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astrology Victoria. Today, with your host Tatiana and another little host, Neptune is back, and Neptune is going to be really present in today's video. And I'm also broadcasting for ANN Archetypal News Network, and happy anniversary ANN. This time last year, it all began, and now it's growing really awesomely big and well, and I'm so excited to be also part of the ANN family. All right, so what are we discussing today? The second half of March, and this is going to be a little bit of a Neptunian video today. The reason being that literally the Neptune Sun Mercury conjunction is really scrambling with my brain. In what sense? Why do I say that? So okay, let's go backtracking. So first things first, yes, there's a lot of Piscean energy in the air. We're still heavily influenced by that watery, mutable, all goes, trust flow, trust life energy. And I can just tell you a few stories, and even just like today, like that very heavy Neptune Sun Mercury conjunction has us being either very inspired, connected to feeling and sensing, but also it could be very confusing. And I'm going to read you a little passage from the Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler, because I find this is very spot on for this, this whole week. Still, before the energy completely shifts, we're still in this, so hang on to a fish. So Sun Mercury Neptune, a dreamy and sensitive nature, a rich and vibrant imagination, a search for higher meaning in life, inspired creative action. That is one of the archetypal combinations for this energy, when it's at its best expression. So with conjunctions, it can go either way, right? But it could also be the potential for fuzzy and scattered thinking, mental confusion or delusions, and psychic inflation. And I want to bring something to our awareness, because with this is like the smoking mirror. Sometimes the perception, the layer of perception is so blurry because we're being asked to connect to something that is beyond the reasoning, the Virgo logic. And what I said that this is hitting me very hard is because I have Mercury and Sun and Saturn, and all of that is in Virgo. So for me, it's like, okay, this is a time where I could use a little bit of my Virgo groundedness to put things out, and at the same time it feels like, woohoo, this is taking me places. So the invitation, obviously, with this Piscean energy really is to not think. This is the whole point. And by not thinking, I don't mean don't make choices. It's more like really tune into intuition. Tune into the extrasensorial. Tune into stillness. Tune into silence. Tune into flow. Otherwise, things can really be like, I woke up and power outage. Okay, all my plans, my very planned day is gone because I needed power for a lot of stuff. So I'm like, okay, let's just then do something different and see what the intuition is telling me that it's the best to do. Otherwise, we can suffer through this. And very interesting, again, Saturn being in Pisces, it's just pushing us to be more in tune, centered, and grounded if we want to master the amazing waters of consciousness that can get us completely swept in all directions. Then other things that have caught my attention. Well, you all know this. There's these bank runs going on right now with the Silicon Valley Bank that went under, and things are like that are happening in our world. And I'm not much of a mundane astrologer because I pay more attention to my inner world and my psyche in that sense. But obviously, I'm aware of things that happen in the world, and it's very interesting that also with Pluto's in a square with Venus, and Venus, entering Taurus on March 17th. You know how this crisis, Pluto square Venus in Taurus is the sign of, money, and these things start showing up as strong reminders of what happens with our resources. I'm like, it's very interesting that Pluto at that anaretic degree of Capricorn and about to enter Aquarius, and we know that all these energies, these Aquarian energies, are already being blended in. It's not like, oh, on March 22nd the whole world changes, reset. No, it's not how it works. As this energy has been already moving, and we're seeing the instability, power outages, my goodness, power outages, instability. We know that the financial system's been like woo, and now it seems that there are many things being shown and being exposed as well, like the mismanagement of these banks, and the lack of proper regulation, and the corruption and things like that. And I saw a very interesting video by Cold Fusion. I can leave you the link below. I really like that channel. About precisely the causes of this bank going under, and how the corruption and the mismanagement, and how when things are always under the table but not well done, and now they're being completely exposed, things are crumbling. Oh, this is also the foreshadowing of Pluto moving into Aquarius, and maybe we're gonna be seeing much more of all our technological and like the dependencies we have on our systems. And that's also Pluto in the last degrees of Capricorn, and how these systems literally are now needing a serious reevaluation and revamping, and obviously more fairness, and people are gonna be more basically demanding more equality. Obviously this puts back the conversation on many topics, like what happens when there's no more money, then what happens, what do we do? And I know there has been talk in the past of this universal basic income, which could be a potential solution for things. And again, I'm not pro or against any of this. These are just things that occur. And then there's all this talk about everything being now everything's being technologified. It's a little bit of a confusing time for sure. And with confusing times, clearly our mind can get really, really, really screwed up. This is the collective psyche, and this is why the invitation, it's not to be outside of ourselves, is to be really inside of ourselves, to be tuning in and letting go. The thing with Pisces and this amount of Piscean energy in this time is that confusion rules, literally. So in times of confusion, the clarity we can gain, the only clarity is the clarity we have in ourselves, is the clarity of my body, is the clarity of what my own being tells me. Here where I live, we have been doing a lot of group meditations and being very intentional about stillness. We have been starting to practice also Wim Hof breathing and cold dipping in the ocean. I thought I would have never ever in my life, in my whole entire life, do that. But these are practical things, practical tools to stay grounded, to stay in the body. Also something that I've been doing myself personally. I'm giving you my personal experience, so you know things that can be done well with Piscean energy is so crazy. I did go to a workshop about compassionate communication, but through the body and through movement and listening to your body and your emotions, and with theater. So it's very interesting that when we engage the body, we engage a part of ourselves that is, it's the body is what informs everything. And Venus is going to be moving into Taurus. Is the sign of the body, is the sign of the material senses, the sensory experiences. And our body is it's the actual, the vessel that has the capacity to inform us of everything that is going out and in is our physical bodies. So what's happening now is the mind can be expanded and away, and if we get caught up into the psychic delusions and panics, and therefore I go back to this whole banking thing and the panic that this can, chaos that can ensue with the panic. So what happened when panic happens? There's a psychic panic, and then a collective panic creates huge domino effects and more confusion. So this is why the invitation is to slow down. We still have because, okay, so this is the other thing. Mars is squaring, very important part of the puzzle. Mars is squaring the Sun, Mercury, Neptune conjunction in Pisces, and Mars is in Gemini. So everything that I think I want to do, and the scatteredness, the media, everything that has to do with the mind, thinking and acting or speaking, or even media, can be very confusing at this time. So I wouldn't be trusting everything we see and everything we hear, in the sense that the collective panic can set in very fast, confusion, and therefore delusion. And then maybe we're delusional, and something that is not as big becomes a huge thing because we give into collective delusions. So again, the invitation is stay very present and stay inside your body, in the body. You know, Venus entering Taurus will definitely say, come, get a massage, come, be in your body, slow down, take care of yourself. If you've been running around and your mind is just running away with you, come back to the senses. It's very funny. I even bought myself just yesterday a massage thingy, and I've been very intentional about this, precisely because I am sensing that this is probably the best way to deal with these very conflicting energies. The other thing that we can do during these transits, when there is confusion, is that it's not to force action, you know. And Mars will try and tend to go places, but if we force the action, what ends up happening is accidents. Another story of accidents during this period I just saw a couple days ago. I was on the highway, and this is kind of very interesting. I was on the highway, there was a lot of water, it was raining, and then I saw a pickup truck go and spin, and then it's flipped up in the air, and it was very close to me. It hydroplaned, you know, talk about Pisces. Poof, it crashes into the divider, and I was like in shock and just wondering, what do I do? Obviously I called 911. I was very confused, called 911, reported the accident, and just kept kept going like this in a state of a little bit of a shock, and hoping that that person was okay. And I mean, I did what I could do, which was like call 911. And then I saw the ambulances coming after a couple of minutes, and I was like, wow. Again, it's like a very archetypical, you know, the accidents that can happen, you know, Mars scattered and distracted, and then there is slippery situations, and I'm talking about water, for example. This is just a very specific archetypal thing that could have been just a coincidence. I'm not saying that astrology has all the answers. It's not that. It's very archetypically coincidental. Like, okay, there is, if we're not paying attention and we're too scattered and we're trying to force things or plow through. And so this is a time, I think, to take things really, really, really easy. Really easy. Really easy. And because this is going on until, well, this Piscean energy is until basically 22nd. That's when everything goes like a very different energy. So this week, please, you know, don't force anything. Stay in your heart. Be compassionate with others. Be caring and compassionate with yourself. Be inside your body. And also, there might be, with the Venus-Pluto square, there might be issues in relationships. Also, the darker side of relationships, power, money, could come up. Also, you know, our values might come into question by looking at what we don't necessarily always want to look at. Otherwise, we can attract people in our environment that could cause a lot of disruption and toxicity in our lives. What is toxic in our relationships? What is toxic in our relationship to money and value and the body? These are things that may come up with that Pluto squaring Venus, and Venus in Taurus. All of these issues might come up. Issues of power, greed, money, relationships, power dynamics. So how are we being in our relationships and our relationships to ourselves? I think that's a theme to look into. Things might get like, you know, the thing with this with Venus and Pluto is that there could even be, you know, releasing the attachment to things we value. So that's why, you know, it's interesting to see these panics happening with money, because sometimes the call is also to see our attachments to value, or what we value, and see what the shadow of that is. What are we valuing? So it brings again the shadow of money, or the shadow of value, and going, okay, look at this so you can make better choices about what you truly value in life. And are you truly aligned with your being, with your sense of self, with your center? And this is why, you know, when we have the Piscean energy, there is a lot of this, my center is not me and my physical body. My center is connected to a higher everything really is connected and fluid. I am the wave in the ocean. And I am the ocean, I am the wave. And that is Buddhist concept. We're both. We're the wave and the ocean, but we're not separate. And this is exactly what's can create so much confusion, especially with Saturn in Pisces right now as well, where it's like we're might feel separated from the whole, only so that we can reconnect better to the whole. I am rambling a lot today, and again, I'm just speaking through what comes as I see my charts here on my side, and can bring you more of my personal sense and feeling about the energy, not so rational. So shifting. Now we have the we're gonna have the so our equinox this year, this is when the energy is gonna be like very different. March 21st, and we have also March 21st, March 22nd. I mean, the equinox portal with the new moon in Aries at 0 degrees and 49 minutes of Aries. This new moon, it's loaded. It's a loaded new moon of new new possibilities, new everything, because on March 23rd Pluto is entering Aquarius, and March 22nd we have this this new moon in Aries. So there is a lot of new and unknown. With Pisces, it's about dissolving. We're dissolving structures, dissolving ego, dissolving self, dissolving our beliefs, dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. And if we do the dissolving process properly, and we do it with trust, then the new things, the energy boosts, you know, that come after the period of sleeping and dissolving, which is that Neptunian period where we should be actually sleeping more, you know, not pushing anything. If we do our sleep properly and release everything that we need to release, when the new energy comes, which is gonna be like, it's gonna be like a boost of flaming fire, then we have a lot of energy for action. Then there is a lot of energy for the new things to come. It's the planting season, and we plant seeds, and it's not only just the astrological new year where, okay, let's review everything that has come before up to this point in the from the last time, from the whole past year into the new astrological year. Is the new planting season, is the new growth. So we close some themes and we begin other themes. And the themes of Aries can come also very charged with, well, it's the invitation for what is my personal desire. You know, when we have a heavy Aries, obviously there's less of that Libra polarity, and it's more about my drive, my personal drive to go for what I want, my personal drive to initiate things, to take action. And when it is aligned with our mind, you know, Mercury is also going to be in during this new moon. Mercury is also conjoining this new moon, and we can be very clear, concise. You know, Mercury in Aries, it's straight to the point. There's no like going around, beating around the bush. No, this is what we need to do. There's also no time to think. Sometimes it's just action without thought, and it requires a lot of courage. And what happens when you do things without thinking? Well, there's two possibilities. Either we make a lot of mistakes and then we need to go back later on and fix them, or we're brave. We take initiative. We just do things, and then we figure things out as we go. If we have a crumbling world and we need to take action, then there's no time to just like necessarily sit and ponder. Sometimes things might need to come quickly because we need to react. We might be having events that makes us react. This can also be inviting some of you know, we have this full moon, this new moon is also squaring Mars. So the Mars at the 28th degree of Gemini almost could also feel like, you know, these are things that could happen in the world. You know, we might see more like things related to war and like strategic planning and things like that, needing strategies. And again, I'm not meaning, I mean, war is such a present thing in our world today, but my thinking is like there is a lot of action and heat, and you know, this new cycle can bring a lot of like, let's go, let's do it, we have to do it now, let's prepare. Another little story that's very interesting, we've been having so many like issues that have required emergency situations here in where I live. I mean, not big, but let's say power outages and things like that have been very common lately. And I think, and I told in my last video, I had a issue with my power also in my house, and you know, many things that got me like, okay, we gotta get into action. And we've been planning for a little bit, like a meeting to know how to deal with emergency situations. What happens if there's a flood? What happens if there's an outage? What happens if there's an earthquake? So it's got us into that Aries mode of we need to react and know how to react. It's the first responder energy. That heavy energy of Aries is the first responder. And it's interesting because we are planning precisely. I'm like, okay, we have to have this meeting to know how to respond to emergency, have a first aid. So this is a good time for those kinds of things, to be quick on your toes, action oriented, mind, the quick thinking. And that's what could happen. We might need to react to things and have the courage to react to them. What things? I don't know. I don't use astrology as a predictive tool. I use it as an archetypal tool, so we can know how the energy is. So good news, the Aries energy brings lots of courage, action, propulsion, movement forward. Just make sure that this movement forward is really aligned with your being and a sense of self. And I keep saying this over and over and over again, because this is the way the world is going to function better in the future, is when we are really aligned with our truth and our soul path. And we've been seeing this as a theme. Okay, what other themes do I see here? There is a by that new moon again in Aries, we have grand trine of Saturn to the south node, and the south node to Mars. So obviously the nodes don't count as planets, so I wouldn't count it as a grand trine point, but definitely there are lessons that we can extract, from the past, definitely from our past actions. And that's why whenever the south node is involved, we have the capacity to see the past, so we can move into the future. We know that, and again, we talked about the nodal axis being Scorpio and Taurus as the major disruptor of how we get our resources and our economy. And this is a very prevalent theme. Again, what are the attachments we're leaving behind, which is the Scorpio, and what do we need to give up of ourselves? It's interesting because this is also the time of Lent, and Lent is said to be that time where you give up of yourself. You give things up. Lent is coming a little bit, it's later, but it's like the whole period speaks of giving up things. So when you're fasting, when you're giving up your attachments, you're purging. It's a time of purge. The good thing about Saturn and Mars trining is that it's a good energy for focused, steady progress. So it's not necessarily an erratic. So if you're needing to respond quickly to something, it's not just crazy. There's method to the madness. And I think this is part of that Saturn trine Mars. Like when we do things right, and we do them with method, and that's also Saturn's ask, is do things right, give it a correct structure, and make sure what you're doing is properly done. So when we create this, Mars and Saturn work really well together to build, to move forward. Mars still being in Gemini and Mercury being the ruler of this means, again, Mercury it's in Aries, so it's like, what are the new things? This brings me to thinking, what's new? What's our new thought patterns? Maybe what are new strategies? I keep getting these words. There's something about strategizing, because a strategy is also part of a mental gymnastics. But when you implement strategies and implement systems, then they can function really well. If you do them right. And this is Saturn's ask. Do things right, do it slowly, do it steady. And this energy is there for that. So it's a good time to implement new strategies, I would think, around your life, around your goals, around what you want to be beginning. This new moon is very, very loaded. And Venus is conjunct the North Node during this new moon as well. So again, South Node is releasing the always to relating to, you know, again, I say our body, our senses, our resources, what we value, what do you truly value? It's going to be brought again by Venus conjunct the North Node. Is like, look, what do you have that is tangible, that you value? Love your body, love your food, love what you can tangibly take. Take the time to be sensual, to be, you know, be in the garden, be with the flowers, and be with the earth. This is a beautiful energy. Or if it's even a reminder that things that take us away from that are taking us away from the possibility of true enjoyment and pleasure. And enjoyment and pleasure is not necessarily hedonism. It's just that if we enjoy what we're doing, we have pleasure in what we do, we actually sense life, we take life slowly and do things with pleasure, everything can happen, you know. So the Aries energy being like kind of quick, fast paced, let's go, let's do it now. Venus, it's in its own domicile, meaning Venus is going to also say, please take time off. It's great, all that impetus, you're going, you're doing it, but then at the end of the day, take a bath, reconnect, go back to yourself and your senses. This is kind of my take on that. Again, I'm doing this in a very spontaneous, intuitive way. This reading today is, I did not do it at all the usual way, which is the very Virgo way. I do all my analysis, put all my bullet points, and take all my notes. I have no notes today. I'm just looking at charts, sensing the energy, telling you what comes through me, and this is what I have for you today. Take it or leave it. And I probably won't be editing either, because again, the power's still out and I only have my little phone. I'm just gonna post this way. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing, for subscribing, for liking. And I'll see you next week with more astrology. And keep an eye for my little astro skits as well. Thank you very much. Blessings to you all. I love you. And please leave me some comments on how you're feeling this very confusing week. And don't give in to collective delusion. Stay grounded, stay present. That's the lifesaver at this moment. Love you. Bye.